Alright guys, Jason the AVP Wargamer here again with another video. This time I'm going to talk about Warhammer 40k. 8th edition's coming out, and there's tons of videos out there talking about all the new updates from Games Workshop, from the community page, and I'm just going to try to talk about other things that other people might not have talked about yet. So 8th edition, as you know, it's coming up. I predict that it's going to be coming out in June, just like everybody else is predicting. They're just ramping up and just telling us all the rules one day after the other, and it just goes day by day by day. Now, one thing that they just recently did a couple days ago is they did one on the Astra Militarum, which was a faction focus kind of segment, which leads me to believe that they're going to be doing at least a faction focus segment for every single army before the release of 8th edition, which I think is incredibly smart on the part of Games Workshop, being able to just ease us into this new edition and understand what the rules are going to be like and what kind of the armies are going to be, and kind of get each player excited about their different factions and then how they play. So again, kudos to Games Workshop for doing that. I think that's very smart of them. I've never been that much of a Games Workshop fan since after 2nd edition. I started 2nd edition in the 90s, and then I moved and life happened and all this other stuff happened, and I didn't really get to play any of the other editions until 7th edition, which I just learned like 5 months ago. So I've only been playing 7th edition for about 5 months, so I'm not really married to the new rule system at all. In fact, what I really like about what's happening in 8th edition is how they're going back to some of the old mechanics that I'm used to, which is a little bit more nostalgic for me. And then I also understand on how it is to get new players into the game, because I wouldn't have even played 7th edition if it wasn't for a friend of mine asking me how to play. And of course, I wanted to share my love of miniature wargaming with him. So I relearned 7th edition. And then I got really excited and started playing and collecting models again. So, anyways, so to get back to it, 8th edition, the things that I like are the way ballistic skill and shooting works. They're actually just going to tell you in the stat what you have to roll. There's no more looking at charts, which is really great. I'm always second guessing myself, even though the math's really simple once you understand the formula. But still, if you got some ballistic skills and weapon skills that are really close, I always like to kind of look it up just to make sure. But that's just me. So yeah, getting rid of that stat line and replacing it with just 3+, 2+, whatever you have to roll to hit, makes the game so much quicker to really process and understand when you're trying to teach new players and understand it. The movement is going to be back, so every single squad has their own special movement characteristic, which I think, for the last few editions, everybody just moved 6. I think that was fine, but there's so much variety now in the types of races and creatures that you can use. And I always thought that Terminators being able to move 6 just didn't make sense to me, because back when in my day, Terminators moved 4 inches and all humans moved 4, and the only thing that moved faster was like Eldar and Tyranids. So getting the movements stat back into the list is really good, and doing away with ballistic skill, weapon skill, and just doing a roll to hit, I think that's really good as well. The problems that I had with 2nd edition was the hand-to-hand combat was super cinematic and great for small battles, but it's really hard to play and look up all these different rules and stuff with parries and charging and all that kind of stuff. It was just too complicated. And the current rule set, the 7th edition, I think is way too complicated for shooting Overwatch, and then you have to figure out the initiatives of everybody involved, and some people can hit at the same time. It just get rid of all that. I'm really happy that 8th edition is going to get rid of all that and just have a simple roll to hit in combat, no matter what your weapon skill is. I think that's really smart. Another thing that people are complaining about is at the change in vehicles. Vehicles now just share a stat line like everything else. Personally, I like that way better. Just vehicles have always been this. It felt like you're playing a completely different game when you're dealing with vehicles. I'm so glad that they're just making it wounds and doing it what they are now. I know a lot of people don't like that, but I think it makes way better sense. Hull points are pretty much just like wounds. It's I don't really see that much of a difference. Yes, it is harder to penetrate the armor when you have weapons that you have to roll um, your a dice along with your strength to penetrate it, and some small arms fire just don't work. But the fact that they're making small arms fire more effective, and even though tanks now get a armor save, I think it's gonna pretty much even out. Even though you're gonna have like maybe some guy spams like 50 las guns to take down a land raider. I mean, it's gonna be really hard to take down a land raider even with that much dice that you're rolling. It'll still do damage, which I think is fine, because if you think about it, any small arms fire that they're using in the future are gonna be more powerful than the little pea shooters we have today. You know, you think of just a bolt gun or a bolt pistol; those bolts are basically small rockets firing out of the gun, and a las gun is a laser beam, which is stronger than any kind of thing that we have now. So I wouldn't doubt that it would actually penetrate armor on a heavy tank. You know, it's going to have a hard time doing it, but if you have an entire battalion of guys firing at that tank, let them fire at the tank and waste all those shots. They could have been firing all those rounds into your troops, but instead they're going to focus on one big tank, which is great because you can go in and distract them with that tank while the rest of your troops come in and actually, you know, wipe them out. So I feel like the strategy is coming back to the game in that way, because now you have really hard choices. You have to choose, you know, when to charge, when to, you know, shoot, when to do these things, and there's new limitations that are making those choices a lot harder to make, which I think is a good thing. You know, the more strategy you can put into it, the better. You know, this is like glorified chess. You know, there should be some strategy. You shouldn't be able to just bring an army that just is immune to everything and then can blow everything off the table. You know, Death Star units and stuff are going to be a little bit different now in this new edition. So I'm excited about that. Also, one thing they revealed with the new Imperial Guard is that their Ratling snipers can pick out whatever targets they want to shoot at, while like characters like Gilliman, the big Primarch, he can be shielded by all his other smaller troops around him, where everybody else is required to shoot at the closest target, except for like snipers and certain weapons that'll be able to just take out the targets you want. So I think that adds a really good depth to the game, because now that makes assassins and snipers and those kind of units way more valuable. In fact, they're making everything more valuable. They've said it in their marketing, but you can see it as the stats are being released. You know, there's, you know, las guns are now valuable. You can actually use them to do something. You don't want to be just like feel like you're wasting points on something when they'll actually do something. And I also feel like adding all these extra wounds to things and increasing the toughness, or not as tough as the strength of weapons past 10 is really good, because the way that shooting and wounding works, you know, you're going to have a very simple chart to refer to where, you know, you're going to know exactly what to roll if the strength and toughness are equal. If it's double that, you know, you're going to have a really good chance of hitting. If it's, you know, below that, then you're going to be having to roll a 6. So it really makes sense, the new system that they're putting out there, and I, for one, am really excited about it. And of course, remember, this is coming from somebody that basically stopped playing Games Workshop games and stopped collecting because of the way Games Workshop was treating their customers back then, and the way the games work. They're just too complicated and too expensive, and you're just like, you know, I'm not paying $100 for one model, you know, in my game that's going to be super overpowered. You know, that just feels like cheating. So the fact that, you know, if you don't have a lot of money, you can still get into this hobby and play things like Shadow War Armageddon, or just do a small, cheap, you know, 40k force. You know, they're giving you that ability. And yeah, they're going to have the overpriced models, but now you can take them out with your little underpriced models. So, you know, there's a lot of give and take, and I feel like it's the appropriate balance that the game's always needed. And then, of course, you know, I'm an Aliens fan, so obviously I'm going to be playing my Tyranids, and I feel like Tyranids are going to get, you know, what they deserve as far as like being able to assault and attack first when they attack. But of course, now the shooty people, they can break away from combat and shoot back. So there's going to be a lot of really good strategy in this new edition. I'm really excited about that. Predictions. I predict that all the major Primarchs are coming back. I feel like there's enough lore out there to really prove, you know, that certain characters are either, you know, still alive, or they could come back at any time. And the ones that are confirmed dead, it's the warp. it's ripped open across the universe. The universe is divided by this giant warp storm. So why not bring back some other Primarchs? They could do that. I don't know if they will, but I know for sure they're going to bring back Mortarion. I know Leman Russ is going to come back. That's going to be a big event when that happens. You got the head of the Salamanders chapter. They say that once the Salamanders can get all the relics, their Primarch will come back. So I think that we're going to see a lot of new stuff coming out. I mean, obviously they want to sell new products. They want to get new stuff out there. And one of the biggest things is going to be those Primarchs. And it is my prediction that each new Primarch is going to be released with the new codexes for each army. Now, Games Workshop has said that they are getting rid of the current codexes and everything's going to be available at launch. They said they're going to have 5 books. I'm sure one of them is going to be Space Marines. The other one's probably going to be Chaos. And then you're probably going to have all the Xenos in one book. And then maybe another one's going to be like a General's Handbook kind of thing. And then you're going to have your rule book. I think that's how the next 5 books are going to be. And they're going to be available at launch. And that, I think, is really cool because, like, I have some old Eldar models that I collected back in the day, but I'm not playing them now because, I don't want to pay $40 for another rulebook. If I get this new rulebook with my Tyranids in it, I'm going to have rules for Eldar and a bunch of other races, and I'm probably going to pick up some of those models and start playing those armies. It happened for me when I got the Death Watch Overkill box set. It was a great value. Got a huge Gene Stealer cult with it, almost 1,500 points worth of models, and then you had a huge, Death Watch army in there as well. Those 2 armies, and I started playing Death Watch because of that. I like the models so much, and the current color scheme of my Space Marines that I already had were already in that scheme. So, dropping money for a codex wasn't that big of a deal to me because I had a whole army already in that theme, and I liked the theme. So, if Games Workshop is giving you the rules for free, and then they're selling you the army books that have multiple armies in one book, everybody's going to pick that up. That's a great value. And then, of course, as each army is released, you're going to want to get that new edition. You're going to want to get the new rules that come out. You're going to want to get the new models that come out for each army. And I think one of the biggest things they're going to do is have that Primarch lead the next army when it's released. So, fingers crossed. If you play Space Wolves, which I don't, but one of my good friends does, when Leman Russ comes back, things are getting real on the battlefield. And then for Tyranids, I don't know what they're going to do for them. The Eldar have already been been raising some of their old gods. They're coming back. The Space Marines are getting their Primarchs. I think Chaos is going to get their Primarchs. All the other armies, I don't know. I don't know what they have planned, but I know that they're going to release some pretty cool characters coming out in the new edition. So, watch your wallets. You're probably going to be spending a lot if you like 40K. But yeah, so those are some of my thoughts. What do you think? What do you think they're going to release? One more thing. The box set, it has been confirmed that it's going to be Ultramarines versus Death Guard. Now, a lot of people don't like Ultramarines, or they think Chaos Space Marines, we just had those. But Death Guard, Nurgle Marines, we really haven't seen new models for those in a long time. Same thing with Ultramarines, one of the most basic generic Marines. Why haven't they released that in any of the box sets? Like, they've never done that. So having Nurgle and Ultramarines just makes sense. Like, I don't collect Ultramarines. I do, Death Watch. So I could use my Ultramarines for that and paint them all Death Watchy. So why not? I'll get them and I'll enjoy painting them. Maybe I'll scratch off those little U's for Ultramarines and do something else. But I think it's a great move on Games Workshop. I'm gonna buy it. I'm excited to buy it. It's got like a Nurgle army, which I love Nurgle. That's my chaos of choice. So it'd be great to actually flesh out a full Nurgle army with that box set. So that's a bonus. And then of course, people who play Death Watch, you got your generic Marines, so you can use those for anything. So yeah, it's exciting. So yeah, again, what do you think's gonna happen? but I think Primarchs are coming back with the addition of each codex, along with new troop types. So, anyways, that's my rant. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to see stuff that's not Warhammer 40k related, I'm going to do a lot of Aliens and Predators stuff on this channel and cover a bunch of other games and game systems as well. So keep an eye on this channel and join my Facebook group, AVP Wargamer, and you can see all the Aliens and Predator content that we're doing. But again, you know, Games Workshop, they're the biggest guy on the block, and some pretty exciting stuff is happening with them. So I just wanted to talk about it. All right.